Good morning, everyone. The three of us will be your song leaders for today. I'm Scott.
Gracie.
Liz.
And we're going to be starting off with Come, Come, Whoever You Are, which is number 188 in your hymnals.
Welcome to this virtual gathering of Westside Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am your worship associate, Chris Darnell, and we will be joined by Reverend Deanna Vandiver, who is our bridge minister here at Westside Unitarian Universalist Congregation, and an affiliated community minister for love and liberation with the Church of the Larger Fellowship. Whoever you are, wherever you have come from, whatever your color of your skin, whoever or however you love, however your body moves and your brain works, however you identify, you are welcome in this faith community. We worship today from the unceded ancestral lands of the Duwamish people. Indigenous nations still here in this place and are continuing to honor and celebrate their ancient heritage. In this particular moment, we need their ancient heritage to address the traumatic echoes of pandemic for people whose cultures were nearly decimated by the waves of viruses unleashed on this place through the colonizing process. Let's take a moment to offer honor and deep respect for this place and its people. Our opening words this morning come from us from W.E.B. Du Bois. The prayer of our souls is a petition for persistence, not for one good deed or single thought, but deed on deed and thought on thought, until day calling onto day shall make a life worth living. Let us worship together with joy and persistence, beloveds.
Our virtual chalice lighter this morning is Mike West. Mike has been a Westside member since 2017. You probably know that Mike is Amy Youngblood's husband. He is also dad to Richard and Sally, and granddad to Lulu and Cedar. He is a political refugee from Texas and a semi-retired engineer. You may know Mike dabbles in theater. In fact, he's been in dozens of productions, including small-town community theater, grand opera, Shakespeare, and sketch comedy. He's acted and also done set design, writing, producing, and directing. Mike believes in science, facts, the search for and questioning of truth, honesty, responsibility, justice, compassion, peace, democracy, and the inherent worth of every person, creature, plant, and thing. He is glad to be a part of a group of people with similar beliefs.
Our chalice lighting this morning is by the Reverend Nancy Reed McKee. Our community knows no boundaries. We are not confined by the physical limits of walls, or for that matter, of what often binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community. We are here together in space. I see you, I hear you, I love you. And we light this chalice, a beacon of this community, holding us all together here, now.
Even at home, we invite you to rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 123, The Spirit of Life.
Welcome to our Westside Unitarian Universalist congregation. If you are with us for the first time, we bid you a special welcome. And if you've been with us for some time, your presence is always a blessing. We invite everyone to enjoy refreshments from your own kitchen after the service and to call a friend for conversation. If you are with us for the first time this morning, please contact us via our website, wsuu.org, so that you can receive our weekly e-news and worship blast. Now, this is the time I go over announcements. And surprise, surprise, we actually have a lot of them. For those of you wondering if there is still a leadership assembly scheduled on March 29th, guess what? Westside lay leaders, you are invited to join us online for a gathering that will address current issues. Yes, that date again is Sunday, March 29th, beginning at 1 p.m. Look for a Zoom link to the gathering relatively soon. The board would like you to know that our new congregational care clusters have been formed by geographic areas for physical closeness when it's possible. There are 10 clusters of between 15 and 25 people each. Each cluster now has 2 opening facilitators who may continue in that role, or who may invite others to share that role. This will be up to each cluster. Congregants will receive an email message on Monday with information about your cluster, and you can expect to hear from your facilitator this week to set up your first Zoom meeting connection as a cluster. These clusters will be slightly different than our original clusters from previous years, as our members have changed, and we want to have a workable size for each group. If you still have strong relationships formed from our previous clusters, we hope you will continue to keep those relationships going as well. We need more connection than ever in this time. If you would like to be a part of a cluster and you didn't receive an email on Monday of this week, we invite you to contact the board or our office. We look forward to growing our connections and supports in new ways. Now, I invite Kevin Lane Cummings on behalf of the Stewardship Committee to talk about our upcoming Stewardship campaign.
It has been another year of waiting. Waiting for Reverend Christopher to join us. Waiting for some of our longtime congregational friends to return to community with us. Waiting for other folks in the greater Seattle area to discover us. Waiting to have the volunteers and the financial strength to really make an impact on social justice issues of the day. Waiting for the coronavirus to move on. But in fact, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Our congregational friend Marcus Green told us about Anne Arnold Hegemon, who said that instead of "I have a dream," Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. should have said, "We have a dream." Because, Marcus said, "we" doesn't just invite others to dream, it requires their counsel in constructing that possibility. We here at Westside, we do know how to dream, and so we need to construct those dreams with our time, our talent, and our treasure. Recently, there have been quite a few individuals in the congregation who stepped up to fund special projects like the lift. Wouldn't it be great if our yearly pledges were so strong that our bonus money, the auction and facility rentals and so on, could be used for those special projects? You may have already received in the mail your pledge form for next year. It has all the facts and figures, the explanations of when and how to pledge and so on. But the most important thing to think about this year goes beyond the purely financial. We may all have our own individuality, but as a congregation, we are more than just the sum of those individualities. It is we as a body of faith who are called to hope and to serve and to act. It is we as a force for change who build a better world together. It is we as a fellowship of love who do what we can for our community. It is we, mutually inspired, who do what we can as a community. Because Westside begins with we.
One of our core values as a congregation is that we aspire to be warm and welcoming to everyone. In support of this important ministry, let's take a moment to imagine the faces of our friends at Westside and to picture the space we are keeping open to welcome newcomers. You're invited to check in on the chat box over there, I don't know, some direction, this time, letting each other know who and how you are. You're also invited to send a quick text or email to someone you care about at this time, making the interdependent web of our existence vivid and loving. We're moving into the congregational affirmation, but I just want to take a moment just to share how great and how interesting this week has been so far. Coming up to this point, we've put a lot of work and a lot of effort, and I want to shout out thank you to everyone who has touched this service today. I especially want to shout out Scott, who's put a ton of work, and I really want everyone to reach out and say thank you, Scott, because a lot of these great quality videos that you're seeing are a lot to his handing. So please definitely reach out to Scott. As we regather to center ourselves, you'll find the words to our congregational affirmation on your screen. Please join me in reading this affirmation as a congregation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, thus do we covenant with one another. At this time, we welcome Westside member Don Wall and friends to share with us a special time for all ages, maybe something beautiful.
Hi, my name is Ashton, and this is my sister.
And hear Ivy and Julie read them stories. K through 3 parents were sent a link to listen to the Spirit Play story and wondering questions on Westside's private YouTube channel. And the 4th through 6th grade class will be meeting by Zoom with the teachers and their parents, and they were sent a link for this class. The coming of age youth are meeting with their teachers by Zoom, and the youth group will meet by Zoom at 12:15 with the youth advisors. Such great resources are available to us, and I'm glad that we continue to connect in this time. It is now time to join in an act of collective generosity. Just as we practiced each week at Westside, 1/3 of the undesignated contributions for the month of March will support the youth group, youth and youth advisors, with scholarships for weekend conferences, chaplain trainings, General Assembly, pilgrimage, and leadership opportunities throughout the year. Westside's youth group is for 9th through 12th graders and emphasizes faith formation through learning, social action, worship, leadership, and community building. Give by text at 888-530-9056. Text EDIT to update payment information. You may also send checks directly to Westside if you're not yet comfortable with all this virtually. Your generous offering will now be gratefully received. We celebrate the virtual gifts of Sandy O and Pat Humphries, who together make up Emma's Revolution, as they provide our gift of music today, Seed.
Good morning, Westside. We're so glad to be with you. And getting to be with you all here is one of the silver linings of this otherwise intense time.
We're coming to you all from Woodland, California in the Sacramento Valley. Just before they put out the shelter-in-place order, I drove down to Oakland so that Sandy could be at my place and we could work together and be together here.
And we know to get through this time, and we will get through this time, we're going to need all of our creativity, all of our ingenuity, and all of our love. So sing this song with us where you get to sing, "Give it love, give it love." Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it water and time for a day or a year.
Take the seed that you have
and plant it here. Give it love. Give it love. Give it some love. Give it 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 love. Now you've heard how the song goes. Some of the words change, but most of them stay the same. Take the song that you have
Take the song that you have and sing it here. Give it love, 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 give it love. Take the dream that you have and dream it here. Give it courage and time for a day or a year. Take the dream that you have and dream it here. Give it love, give it love, give it some love, give it 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 love.
Thank you for your generosity, and to Emma's Revolution for this generous gift. Once again, for those who might have missed it, the Give by Text number is 888-530-9056. And Westside is a seed. Let's give it love. As we move to a time of reflecting and deepening, let's take a moment and gather as a sacred community to celebrate the joy and honor the sorrow that fills our lives. I'm going to read some joys and sorrows that we've received over the past week. From Cynthia Townsend. On Tuesday, my brother-in-law, Peter, was tested for the virus. We are still waiting for the results. My sister texted, "The medical people are reassuring, but everything is uncertain now." Everything? No. My soul is rich with love. That is certain. Please hold Peter in your meditations and prayers. From Ursula Ham and Richard Clark. With a heavy heart, we are accepting that we have to postpone our church wedding and ceremony till further notice. Ursula is deeply sad that she'll miss seeing her friends from Germany, 2 of her goddaughters with their parents, and another friend. It would have been their first visit to Seattle. Let's keep Ursula and Richard in our hearts. A joy from Kimberly Patterson via Ursula. Kimberly told the bus driver she couldn't find toilet bath paper. Neither could she return to the store at 11:30 p.m. when the stock up again. Her bus wouldn't run that late. The driver asked her for her address. Late at night, a huge package was dropped off on her porch. Thank you, dear bus driver. From Sue Hawley. I sadly had to say goodbye to my beloved kitty, Elias, on 3/15 after 15 years. It's particularly difficult with the necessary isolation, and I'm grateful to all those who've reached out to support me. Let's keep Sue in our thoughts. From Reverend Emis Finta from our partner church. The virus is in Romania also. As for the moment, nobody is sick in the village. The Sunday services are closed and people are urged to stay indoors and maintain social distance. It is truly frightening. I know from the news that Seattle is hit hard by the virus. We pray that everybody will recover, and as much as possible, we will return to a normal life. A life where we can be close to our family and friends, or even a stranger in a busy market. Because if that is taken away, we surely will lose our humanity. This crisis is a test of our humanity, and I pray that we will pass it. Please stay safe, take care of yourself. All of us have to be strong now. And from your leadership, there have been many important events canceled. Wedding plans, graduations, ordinations, important family gatherings, long anticipated trips, swim meets, and other life-giving plans. The loss of these joyous events can be stressful and sorrowful. We recognize that we are in an unknown times. I want you to know that we are here for you, that we are here for each other. Let us hold in our hearts the joys and sorrows, known and unknown, our own and those of others among us. Let us all feel held by this loving community, and let us rejoice in that love.
May we rest in this love, dear ones. Friends, I want to invite us now into a sustaining practice that lets us find beauty and holy breath together. I learned this sustaining practice from the Reverend Aaron Walter, who learned it from Nakia Winfield, a Unitarian Universalist organizer in Texas. They call it a hand breathing practice. And so as you are willing and able, I want to invite you to extend forward one hand. And with the other, trace the mountain range of your hand, one breath at a time. As you breathe in and out, in and out. If this movement is not a part of your life ability, you can practice within your imagination, breathing in on the rise, breathing out on the slide. I invite you to stretch forth your other hand. This is available to you. Breathing in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. At any point in any day, dear ones, I invite you into this beautiful, sustaining practice, one that slows us down from the urgency and intensity, gives us a moment to refill and restore our sense of connectedness to ourselves and this beautiful world, no matter how ugly the stories around may be or within us may be. We can breathe in and breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in and out, in and out, in and out. I offer gratitude also to your board, who will be sending you other sustaining practices in the weeks to come. We give such thanks that we are deeply resourced with each other in this moment of all moments. And now, beloveds, it is my deep joy to invite Viv Monahan to share a reflection this morning on what calls her to our faith, Unitarian Universalism, and this beloved community. Viv.
Hello, friends. My name is Vivica Monahan, and I have been asked to share a few words with you about why I am a Unitarian Universalist. I became a UU one January day in 1993 when I visited the little West Seattle UU Fellowship, which was then meeting in the basement of the Masonic Temple. John and I wanted our children, both still in diapers, to be raised in an environment that taught religious ideas but did not impose a belief system on them. At the time, we had good friends who were church-going Christians. Being one who thinks ahead, I imagined my children spending cozy hours with these loving families, saying prayers, hearing about God in the normal course of a day. They might come home and wonder why God, who they would learn was everywhere, wasn't at their house. They might even wonder why their parents were so weird. We wanted them to be raised among other weird families like us, so we joined the West Seattle UU Fellowship and we stayed. My children's spiritual welfare is what brought me to Unitarian Universalism. But why am I still here? What holds me, and would I continue to be a UU if I no longer belong to Westside? To answer those questions, I needed to separate my dedication to my congregation, this beloved community, you, from my faith in Unitarian Universalism as a construct for my spiritual, intellectual, and ethical life. Whenever I walk into a room full of UUs, I always feel the solid floor under my feet. My experience is one of solidness, intelligence, and social conscience. This is what I expect and has become a familiar comfort for me in any Unitarian Universalist setting. Yet while I stand on this firm ground, I notice that the limits of my understanding constitute a ceiling, one which is not so predictable from one UU cohort to another, or from one week to the next in our own congregation, or our denomination, or out in the whole country. I'll explain what I mean. I believe that Unitarian Universalism at its core encompasses freedom in all its forms, including the freedom to think one's own thoughts. When I examine my own thoughts, I sometimes find that they aren't entirely the product of soulful deliberation, but merely an amalgam of news clips, opinions, and hearsay, among other things. Many of them reflect my desire to be safe and accepted by others. These all determine the height of the ceiling over me. Then, of course, in a congregation of 200 people, or a denomination with 3,000 congregations, everyone else is arriving at the truth in their own way. The ceiling overhead lowers when hearts and minds close and lifts with each inclusive thought, re-examined behavior, apology, forgiveness given, and truth shared. What I so revere about Unitarian Universalism is that I am invited to break through those ceilings, to get the facts, to question authority, to argue, research, dig deeper for more nuanced sides to the truth, to be bold and courageous, to listen and compromise, to forgive and ask for forgiveness. Unitarian Universalism provides us with all the tools we need to create the highest ceiling, or no ceiling at all. The tools are embodied by our principles, but even more so by the sources from which we draw our strength. These sources breathe life into our UU principles and our collective faith. This invitation is why I know in my bones, my cells and blood that I am a Unitarian Universalist. I will briefly describe the sources here. You can read them more fully on our website. Our sources include the study of all the world's religions and spiritual traditions. They invite exploration of direct experience of that transcending mystery affirmed in all cultures. We're encouraged to learn from the words and deeds of prophetic people, both dead and living. We're reminded by humanist teachings to heed the guidance of reason and the rigor of scientific discovery. These sources remind me that UU faith and church are not the same thing. Our faith is not the governance, buildings, ministers, programs that comprise our church. Our faith is transcendent. It is that mysterious something that makes us and what we do matter. Our faith compels us to give our treasure so that our church home can exist and flourish, providing beloved community through which we can be part of something so much grander than our individual selves. In this challenging time of social distancing, illness, and economic uncertainty, I wish for each of us to find our faith community a source for the strength, courage, and patience to see it all through. And may we find more ways to reach out to one another. Thank you.
Ashe, thank you so much, Viv. I deeply appreciate your gift. And I appreciate your gifts, friends. Thank you so much for being a part of this beloved community, honoring your faithful call in this time and always. Friends, we have a special anthem this morning from Emma's Revolution, Better Days. May we all know these better days.
To remind us to be inclusive, that language matters, that we won't always be in this place, but our moving from this place to a better place depends on us really being together and caring about one another.
And you can sing this song with us. In the first verse, when Pat sings a line, we'll sing back the words, "In the light." And in the second verse, when Pat sings a line, we'll sing back the words, "In the dark." And in the third verse, we'll sing, "We begin."
We have come in the light to this place, in the light, our hearts in the light open wide. We are here in the light, giving voice, in the light to the truth, in the light we divine. Let us sing for today. Let us learn better ways, showing love in the light, giving hope in the life we create, in the light, better days. We are born in the dark, we are fed in the dark, we connect in the dark through the veil. We are held in the dark, we are healed in the dark, mysteries in the dark we reveal. Let us sing for today. Let us learn better ways, showing love in and the dark, better days. Time is now, we begin where we are. We begin, we have all. We begin that we need to renew. We begin to release. We begin to rebuild. We begin to believe. Let us sing for today. Let us learn better ways, showing love. We begin giving hope. We begin, we create. We begin better days. Let us sing for today. Let us learn better ways, showing love. We begin giving hope. We begin, we create. We begin better days, showing love. We begin giving hope. We begin, we create. We begin better days.
Oh, beloveds, together we create better days. And now, friends, with a 2-week delay, the stewardship sermon you've all been waiting for. A little gift to my sibling Gen Xers, and with apologies to Salt and Peppa. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Okay, there's an interfaith joke that says Catholics won't talk about sex, but they'll talk about money. Unitarian Universalists will talk about sex. End of joke. I do want to give a big shout out to the Our Whole Lives program that's been teaching Unitarian Universalists and other liberal religious folks about consent culture and healthy sexuality for years now, perhaps one of the greatest gifts our faith has given to this world. It is a faithful practice to talk about sex, but that is not what our stewardship team invited me to talk about today. So let's talk about my honey. Let's talk about you and me. No matter how resistant we may find ourselves to the idea, it is a faithful practice to talk about money. Here too, we need to learn about consent culture and healthy generosity. There was a time when I was embarrassed to talk about money, especially indignant when the topic was raised in the context of religion. But friends, I spent 6 years as director of an organization in New Orleans that was founded by 3 Unitarian Universalist congregations, grounded in UU values. And what I have learned is that being afraid to talk about money and generosity only benefits the forces of oppression we are working so hard to transform. Silence is complicity when it reinforces the status quo. Our faith tradition is founded and grounded in revelation ever unfolding. So we are being faithful and ethical when we challenge the structures and habits that enforce inequity and violence. Beginning to talk about how we choose to use the energy of money and the spiritual practice of generosity is a way we can resist being complicit in structures and habits that enforce inequity and violence. When congregations in the greater New Orleans area began to join in the organizing work of the Poor People's Campaign with Fight for 15, we quickly realized that we had to examine our own budgets. A lot of sextons and church administrators, childcare workers, and musicians got raises in that next congregational budget year. A living wage is for everyone. We need to live our values in this world as we call the world into living our values. Noticing what we need for beloved community to be realized, asking for it, and being willing to receive it are essential practices for faithful leadership. There is power in we, and beloved, it so happens that Westside begins with we. Big shout out to the Stewardship Committee for that revelation. The Reverend Henry Whitney Bellows, a 19th century Unitarian institutionalist and co-founder of the U.S. Sanitary Commission, which is now known as the American Red Cross, set forth a theology of the church as an institution, believing that every radically important relationship of humanity is and must be embodied in an external institution. He was the Unitarian leader who changed membership in the National Association from one of individuals to one of congregations. Bellows was essential in shaping the faithful sociality that defines our UU congregations. The phrase faithful sociality was coined by philosopher Paul Lakeland to highlight two dimensions of congregational life. Sociality stresses the inevitable social and political presence of the members to one another and within the larger society. But the qualifier faithful reminds us that spirituality is as important as political praxis. Praxis is the process by which learning becomes embodied, the act of practicing and reflecting in community upon our actions, and then acting again. While he was writing specifically of Christianity in the postmodern world, Lakeland names a critical characterization of Unitarian Universalism when he describes communities that know why they exist and express this purpose as a blend of spirituality and social praxis. Dr. Sharon Welch, an ethicist and former provost of our Meadville Lombard Theological Seminary, asserts that we are ethically called to choose to care and act, although there are no guarantees of success. Responsible action, she states, does not mean the certain achievement of desired ends, but the creation of a matrix in which further actions are possible. The creation of the conditions of possibility for desired change. And in this moment in history, friends, so much is unfolding, so much is uncertain, so much is possible. One of the ways congregations can create the conditions of possibility for desired changes is by tapping into our power to practice faithful, financial faithfulness. So I'm going to invite us to take a breath. And I'm going to talk about money and faith and why it matters that we invest in each other, especially in times of uncertain markets, creating the conditions of possibility for desired changes, for the healing transformation of this world. Now, one of the ways we talk about hard things is through the use of humor. I have a dear friend who has us laughing every time she talks about when her mother died. The story is still too tender for her to tell without jokes. And my clinical pastoral care supervisor always said, never take away someone's coping mechanism. At first she said, unless they have something stronger to replace it with. And later she said, no, really, don't take away anyone's coping mechanism. You can always invite people into new ones, but we choose not to coerce. And so a little humor in this moment when many of us dealing with taxes, said to be the only certainty beside death, trying to figure it out. And in the midst of this, a minister received a call from the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. Reverend, do you know Pat Doe? Why, yes, I do, said the minister. Is Pat Doe a member of your congregation? Why, yes, they are. Did Pat Doe just make a $10,000 donation? After a brief pause, the minister replied, why, yes, they will. That, my friends, is a congregation on the verge of realizing some power of we. One Unitarian Universalist congregation offered the following generosity practice for atheists and other non-theists who were too blocked by the religious baggage connected to tithing to participate in stewardship. We have a special offer this Sunday for all of you who are non-theists. If you have anything at all in your pockets, wallets, or purses with the words, "In God we trust," we will be happy to rescue you from the burden of having to carry it around. We joke. And yet, the Reverend Margaret Marcuso tells the story of when a formerly German-speaking church she was working with discovered old board minutes in German detailing the fight the board had about whether to build a 1-seat or 2-seat outhouse. Some did not want to spend the money on the 2-seater. Now, she learned this story, of course, when she had been called in to help the now English-speaking congregation figure out why they were always struggling with having money to spend and fighting over the ways to spend what they had. It turns out, friends, that emotional intensity around money gets passed down from generation to generation in congregations as well as families. As the poet Mark Nepo writes, if we want to lessen violence in the world, we can start by facing what is ours to feel, so we don't play our unresolved feelings on others. So I'd like to invite you to take a moment. Think about your own family's emotions and patterns around money, about any unresolved feelings you may have when faced with a conversation about stewardship. I now invite you to think about Westside's emotions and patterns about money. Maybe remember how they came to be that way if you know. There are several origin stories in this congregation, I am learning. And now think about how these emotions and patterns around money play out in your congregational experiences. What is yours to face in the realm of feelings that would bring more joy and less violence in your interactions with the world within this community? And now I want you to think about what is healthy and working in your family systems and this congregational system, particularly right now around money and stewardship, sustainability, and realizing our potential. I invite you to name that. You can celebrate it, say it out loud. Friends, today you can type it in the chat box. What is working? Celebrate these places where we are using our power to realize the power of we, our potential as a people of faith. My teaching minister often had to remind me to lead with my gifts. She says that's what they're there for. We spend a lot of our life energy working on our deficits and our growing edges. Friends, we can spend at least an equal amount of time strengthening our gifts and celebrating them with each other. What are your gifts, friends? What are your sources of power and compassion and creativity? Bear witness to them and share them with the collective as you are willing and able. Religious community offers us the opportunity to know and be known deeply and fully. It doesn't make our daily struggles go away, but it can give us what we need to nurture our courage, to live with loving hearts, to practice spiritual abundance in the midst of a culture that tells us that we are not enough, that there is not enough. Beloveds, you are precious, and so is your neighbor. And we are all in this together. Westside begins with we. A friend of mine once told me that when she was learning to ride a motorcycle, she learned to look for the clear path, the way through. If I focus on the pothole or the large rock, she said, I hit them every time. But if I focus on the clear space around them, that's where I end up driving and making it through. What is the clear space around your relationship with money and power and religious community? Two years ago, editing on the fly again. 2 years ago, a few Unitarian Universalist colleagues gearing up for annual stewardship campaigns queried where Unitarian Universalists fall nationally compared to other religious groups in both wealth and generosity. It turns out that UUs are statistically the second highest income earning religious group in the United States. And we are dead last in all traditions in terms of giving to support for our own faith. So the good news, friends, we have a lot of unrealized generosity potential as a faith tradition. And we have the power to realize that potential as a people of faith. We just have to have the courage to do so. Now, some of you have been curious, and I'll let you know, I was raised in a Pentecostal Church of God religious tradition. And while I fled the theology that seemed too small for the wonders of the world I was discovering in my teenage years, I have come to appreciate quite deeply the lessons of mutual support and generosity that were formed in the bones of my bones by that faith community in my childhood. It wasn't until I became a lay leader in a Unitarian Universalist congregation years later that I first consciously appreciated the gifts of community that had been modeled for me and molded into me as a child. Even though the Pentecostal community I belonged to before I ran away to college, that's a true story, before I ran away to college on a scholarship, it was mostly poor, working class Southern folk with only a few professionals in the church. There was at least one dentist. We were very proud of the dentist. But I don't remember a sense of fiscal anxiety in that congregation. There were poor people, yes, but for the collective, there was always enough. People tithed and showed up and supported each other through really deep struggles. And there was a spiritual sense of abundance that created the miracle of loaves and fishes again and again within that congregation. And friends, I confess that sometimes I long for this sense of spiritual abundance to descend, perhaps like the spirit of Pentecost, into Unitarian Universalism, to dissolve the scarcity legacy that seems to be etched into our institutions. Friends, I want to invite you to take a breath and think of some of the many ways in which you and Westside are already practicing spiritual abundance. And now imagine what else y'all are called to. What healing and transformational potential are you capable of realizing when you choose to use your collective power? Your stewardship team has officially begun the annual call to collectively invest in each other today, in the mission and vision of this congregational collective and in our faith. May you say all the yes that you can to the power of we at Westside Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I offer you this blessing from the Reverend Ashley Horan, Organizing Strategy Director for the Unitarian Universalist Association's UU the Vote. Another world is possible. We say it again and again, even when the proof lies somewhere beyond the horizon, beyond our reach, perhaps beyond our imagination. This is our faith. Another world is possible, not somewhere else, another world, another lifetime, but here and now, for us and for all. Another world is possible. There is no single path toward that world, no one strategy or approach that will restore balance, heal the brokenness, sow wholeness, free creation. There are many routes and many routes towards liberation, toward freedom. But the abundance of options does not absolve us of the responsibility of acting. Another world is possible. The call, the duty of each moment in history is to discern who are we and what can we bring with humility, integrity, faith. What is the context and how can we address it with agility, resilience, skill? What is the vision and how can we realize it with accountability, relationship, joy? Another world is possible. In this time of despair, of fear, of collapse, this time that is both like every other era and like no other time in history. It is audacious to declare our faith and commit our work to a world that is more free, more just, more whole. But we are an audacious people, in good company with many kin, and we are ready to show up and work hard and stay humble and make friends and hold the vision, starting here, now, today, with us, and persevering however long it takes until that other world is not only possible, but another world is here. Westside begins with we. And we are all in this together, beloveds. May it be so. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
Please rise and body your spirit as we sing Go Lift It Up, number 1057 in your teal hymn books.
We heard your requests and we answered your calls. Do you feel full? This is us as a congregation. We're going to we're going to dig those wells. We're going to plant those trees. We're going to build 2-seat outhouses. We need you to answer the call. Before we close with our fivefold amen, you're invited to find hands to hold in body or spirit, wherever you are, while I share today's closing words from Dr. Sidney K. Wilde, and we release the flame. In this community, we give and we receive. May we go forth now to share the bounty of our love. After our postludes, stick around in the chat where you can visit with each other and share deep. First, let us receive this final special gift of music to Westside this Sunday from Eva's Revolution. Keep on moving forward.
Again for having us here. We look forward to seeing you online, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on moving proudly.
Now you know the whole song.
Keep on moving proudly. Keep on moving proudly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on singing loudly. Keep on singing loudly. Keep on singing loudly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. 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 See you next time.